Gamer here, back with another episode. Now, if Speedy Gon Usyk can turn up to a press conference with his cuddly toy, then surely I can turn up in a YouTube video with my precious companions. But in this mad world we live in, is always one rule for one and one rule for the other. And for those who are interested, this is Tommy the teddy bear, and this was a bonus item from game if you was to get the Division 2 Collector's Edition. And this one here is the Catsuit Mario, and this was from the 3D World Bundle Edition. I can't really remember. And this one here is Kirby, and you would get this if you was to get the Warp Star Bundle Edition. So big up to Alexander Usyk and all of the cuddly toy massive. Often duplicated but never imitated, so remakes and remasters don't count in this video. If you don't see me show a Trilogy or Quadrilogy that dropped in a generation, I don't own it. Unfortunately guys, can't have everything folks, and I guarantee you'll never see game production move along this quickly ever again. We are lucky to see one release in a generation, let alone 3 in this modern age of gaming. Okay, I'm going to start in chronological order from oldest right up to newest generation. So the time of the Game Boy era, from the greatest beat 'em up franchise of all time, what you can see in front of me guys, is Double the King Dragon. This is where it all began, boys and girls. And this gives me sweet arcade memories of 20p nightmares. And only the 80s kids will relate to the dreaded coin-up scenarios. But there you have it guys. In front of me, we had a Trilogy. And we had this one first. Double Dragon 1, which was an absolute classic. For the kids who hasn't witnessed this game yet, it's time to emulate some absolute gems. And then we had the sequel that followed up, and that's Double Dragon 2, and it was just called Double Dragon 2. And Double Dragon 2 was still top level production in game quality. But then the levels dropped a little bit when Double Dragon 3 was released, but I still think Double Dragon 3 is epic, and because it was very scarce at the time, it's now worth quite a bit of money. And if you want this in your collection, be prepared to get your pocket scalped. Then in one epic generation we had a Trilogy in the Street Fighter Alpha series. Street Fighter is another IP which is gaming royalty and is up there in my top 3 favourite franchises of all time in the gaming industry. I'm not too much a fan of all the spin-offs like these, although Marvel vs Capcom series is absolute classic material, but the main series is where the heart's at, especially Street Fighter 2 Champions Edition. But if I'm honest with myself, nothing trumps Street Fighter 4. So in this generation we got Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams, which was Street Fighter Alpha 1. Then came the sequel, and I don't have the PS1 version, but I do have the Sega Saturn version. So we had the sequel, and it came to life with the Street Fighter Alpha 2. And there's nothing fancy with the naming, it's just called Street Fighter Alpha 2. Believe it or not, in the same generation, Capcom was in fighting mode because Street Fighter Alpha 3 blossomed, giving us a trilogy that will live forever. And yes, this was just called Street Fighter Alpha 3. Now we move from the 5th gen straight into the 6th gen, and I found this trilogy in my collection, and it's from another timeless IP, and that is International Superstar Soccer, mostly addressed as ISS in every part of the UK. So many hours spent on this, battling against family and friends, doing my own commentating, getting on everybody's nerves, especially when I was winning. You used to feel that tension in the air. So we didn't just get one International Superstar Soccer, neither did we just get 2 International Superstar Soccers. They went and pushed the boat out and gave us 3 International Superstar Soccers in one epic single generation. So there's your trilogy right here, and I have to say this series is very rare. And even in this times, believe it or not, we had multiple games from the GTA series. We had San Andreas, Vice City, and even the Liberty City stories. But that's in a whole different video because they're not really trilogies in the main series. They were all spin-offs. But I will do a video of multiple spin-offs from the same IP which launched in one single generation. And these 3 will definitely be on my list. So in this 7th gen on the legendary PS3, we had AAA Gold because Naughty Dog created this masterpiece, Uncharted, and it must have been on development overdrive because they released sequel after sequel, and each time getting better and better with the quality. I think actually they must have burnt themselves out in the PS3 era because gradually their standards started to drop slowly, only releasing 2 big games in the next generation on the PS4, then absolutely went flatlined in today's current generation, the 9th gen. All they're doing is just releasing remaster remakes, and really they don't really count. Now I've already got all of them in my collection and I like playing it the original way on the original hardware. But let this sink in. Not only did they bring out this outstanding trilogy, they also launched another AAA IP fresh out of the Naughty Dog headquarters with this, The Last of Us. So here's another infamous PS3 title to hit the PS Triple, and that is Dead Space. This generation was extremely stacked, packed with pure and utter gems. Now we didn't just get one Dead Space. This is Dead Space 1. We didn't just get 2 Dead Space 2. We got bombarded with 3. Because number 3 was released in one single generation, and this one was my jam because this sequel I enjoyed the most out of all of them. But still, number 1 is definitely up there with the greatest of all times. So you can't deny we was in absolute triple trilogy heaven back in generation 7. And it doesn't stop there, folks. First I showed Uncharted as an exclusive to the PS3. Then we have another trilogy exclusive. So yeah, we have the mighty Motorstorm, and this was the first installment. And this series was allowing you to experience the 6-axis functionality on your new shiny controller, fresh out of your brand new PS3 box. And then the second installment, which was the sequel, Motorstorm Pacific Rift, was number 2. And then to complete the trilogy, we had the Apocalypse. And that was Motorstorm Apocalypse. So there was your trilogy, guys. And what this game, this series was allowing you to do is to experience the 6-axis functionality on your brand new shiny controller. Yeah, guys, this was a golden generation. We got the Motorstorm Trilogy. Now this is ultra rare to see. We don't just get a trilogy, we got a quadrilogy here. Because they released 4 Final Fantasies in the main series. Imagine that. No spin-offs involved. This was the main series in one timeless generation. And it all featured on the legendary PS3. Now that's unthinkable today. We have to count our blessings if Square Enix gives us one Final Fantasy game in a generation. And we'd be super duper lucky if we see a sequel in this modern age of gaming. And with this slow rate of development, many gamers say Sony going to get longer out here. So on the PS3, the first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy 13, and I did manage to get my platinum on it. And this arrived on the PS3, and then the sequel dropped, which was Final Fantasy 13-2, and yeah, it's weird they did that, but it's a sequel, it's a follow-up to number 13, and for that one I didn't even bother go for all the trophies this time. But yeah, then they dropped Lightning Returns Final Fantasy. And what this was, it was the follow-up to Final Fantasy 13-2. So we had another sequel. And many people don't know that Final Fantasy 14 got released first on the PS3 before the PS4, or on the same time. But it did get released on the PS3. Yeah, it was simultaneously. Now that was wild, witnessing a quadrilogy in one epic generation. Ubisoft was flying in this moment in time because another quadrilogy dropped in this generation, and it was of AAA quality. Because we had Assassin's Creed 1, and then came along number 2, and then I got my sealed copy right here of Assassin's Creed 3, and then came cross-platform, and they dropped at the same time Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is Assassin's Creed number 4. So the first ever Assassin's Creed was released on the PS3. So there you have it, guys. We had the Assassin's Creed series on a sequel spree. And in one single generation, we got Yakuza 3. And then we also had Yakuza 4. And then Yakuza 5 dropped. And here's my Japanese version. They've done a lot of remasters and remakes, but the original was on the PS3. And back in the day, you couldn't play it anywhere else. And they all got released on the main series production line. And to top it all off, they even done spin-offs. Yakuza Kenzan and Yakuza Ishin. Still on the PS3, we have the Saints Row Trilogy. And many say this is the GTA clone, but it's in a league of its own, that's for sure. And Volition created something special with the Saints Row series, because once you jump in, you'll want to stay in the Saints Row universe forever. So Saints Row 2 arrived, and then the sequel came along and they called it Saints Row the Third. So this is basically Saints Row number 3. And to complete the trilogy, Saints Row 4 came to town, and I had the edition with the Gat Out of Hell DLC, and it makes a change compared to the modern day and age. All the DLC was installed on one single disc, so a trilogy came in an epic generation. Now it doesn't get any better than this, and I'm starting to think, was the PS3 the golden age of gaming on the PlayStation? I have to go and do some analysing properly. But anyway guys, I'm going to finish off with one of the greatest trilogies of all time, and this is the Batman Arkham series of games, and we got 3 of them in one epic single generation. So first they summoned Batman Arkham Asylum, and forget about the 9 out of 10 what you see on the left hand side of the cover art. This game is 10 out of 10 and the best out of the bunch in my eyes. And not far behind we got the sequel which emerged on the PS3, and that is Batman Arkham City. But yeah, not much difference between the two. They were both absolutely brilliant. Then we got the prequel, Batman Origins, and it didn't quite live up to its predecessors, but it was still good nevertheless, and it's worth diving into if you haven't played it yet. So there you have it guys, we got the Batman Arkham series, and we got spoiled with a trilogy, 3 games. And did we get, yeah, we got one the generation after, Arkham Knight, but yeah, after that completely radio silence with this franchise, and I don't think they're ever going to bring it back again. So that just wraps up part 1 of my trilogy videos, because I have plenty more, just couldn't fit them all in one video, and if I did, we'd all be here for hours on end, and I ain't got time for that, but I will have time for part 2, so stay tuned to my channel because it's coming soon. Okay guys, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, even better, subscribe. Till next time, see ya. Take me back to Trilogy City where the sprites is bright and the graphics are pretty. Oh, won't you please take me home?